Good timing. All right, it is 7 o'clock. I want to welcome everybody to the May 21st, 2024 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. We have two items on the agenda, and these were items that one was tabled and then one was a request to modify an existing variance request. So I have a couple of items that I want to bring to everybody's attention. For the foreseeable future, we're going to be meeting here during the construction at Town Hall. This will be our place till they finish up there. Also, and as of today, I guess Route 20 is done, so that is now passable.
Noticed that, we went down there.
Yeah, and they only did that today, so.
Oh, really?
Yes, which is a good thing, because between that and the parade reroute, it was just,
Yeah,
would make things a little trickier to
Yeah.
get.
cut down on Church's Road though a lot. I mean, we didn't have as much whizzing by there as usual.
Yeah,
It'll be
Trucks,
back,
a lot of trucks.
it'll be back.
other than that, and again, the Jacqueline Bridge, variance concern that we had, I guess that got resolved. This is where there was a garage that was placed on a neighboring property's line. Apparently that got moved,
Mhm.
so, and I guess Chris was witness to it, which is fine, so that kind of didn't involve any more participation on our part, regarding that application. So we did, there were a couple of meetings that were not held. One was in January because of weather. And then in April, we didn't have a meeting because there wasn't really anything of significance on the agenda itself. So we went that particular meeting. We're still exploring the recommendations for the town board regarding accessory building setbacks. I think what we'll touch on it a little bit, and then I think in the interim, I'll put together some draft information, and then by next meeting, we'll, we should have enough there to submit that. That being said, what we would like to do at this point of the meeting is conduct what we call the open forum. This would be for any questions or concerns of the zoning board of items that are not on the agenda, because there'll be an opportunity to do that later in the meeting. And it doesn't appear that we have any Zoom participants.
No.
Okay.
Participate anyway.
Well, no, but if
They
people
tell us.
are running, but then what I would say that people have the opportunity to submit after the fact. If they do have concerns. Is there anybody here that has questions or concerns other than the items that we're going to be discussing? Okay. All right.
I have a lot of questions about my property, but I don't know if this is the proper place to discuss it.
Well, it may very well be, and we'll get to that. So, and that being said, then we're going to go ahead and we'll close the open forum and then we'll proceed. So the first item of business would be Joseph Tersini. Okay. If you want to bring us, I know you were here in December and you were looking for a side yard variance. If you want to just revisit.
Okay. I will bring you up to date as best I can bring you up to date.
Okay.
We would like to put a small addition on one side of our house. It is the only part of the property where that is a viable idea, all right? Just by it's lakefront property, it's 26 feet from the water. We can't build on the front side. It would be extremely difficult to build on the back side because the sewer lines, power lines, and everything else come into the house from the back side. The other side of the house, which would be the west side of the house, there's a little more space, but the design of the house is not amenable for an addition on that side. So the east side of our house, there is right now on the property as we bought it 3 years ago, just shy of 20 feet between the edge of our house and the fence that is on our, supposedly on our property. But 19.5 inches or something like that. When I originally brought this to the building department and I spoke with Chris, Chris said to me, he did some aerial stuff and he said, it looks like your fence and your propane tank and your generator aren't on your property. You know, and he said, I would suggest that you have your property surveyed. So we did. Now, I'm getting this a little, my survey shows that Chris is most likely accurate. Okay, however, this house was completely rebuilt somewhere around the year 2001, 2002, from the ground up. And the survey and the building permit that were issued in 2001, 2002 accepted the property as it was. The fence was there at that time. There's old survey stakes at the end of the fence, but they don't agree by almost 15 feet with, or not 15 feet, by almost 5 feet with the new survey stakes. So I don't know how two surveys can be so different, but they are, all right? So the current survey agrees with Chris's assessment. The old survey by which the house was rebuilt, again, somewhere around 2001, 2002, that's when the building permit was issued, but it wasn't completed for some time for some reason. But those were the property lines that were accepted at that time. So we need to get a variance one way or another to put an addition on the house. The question is, can we have a variance knowing that the fence has been existing there for over 20 years? I've talked to an attorney. I don't want to get into a bunch of legal stuff unless I absolutely have to. But I talked to an attorney said New York State law, 15 years, if nobody has claimed it, or if you have what's called a adverse possession. Adverse possession. Well, the fence has been there for well over 20 years. I've talked to the two neighbors who it affects, because on the other side of that fence is a right of way for the water.
Okay.
Who owns the right of way?
Pardon me?
Do you know who owns the right of way? Is it the
To
state?
my knowledge, it belongs to two people. It was, to my knowledge, and I may not be 100% correct, but there are 4 lots on the upper side of Lake Avenue. 2 lots are owned each by 2 people. The one was just purchased by a young lady last September, I believe. I'm not sure the closing date. Her name is Carla Cote. Very nice young lady. I've spoken to her about this issue already. She said, that was what I was told was my right of way. You know, so she's perfectly fine with it. The other fella is a fellow by the name of Joe or Joseph Golfano, who I am very friendly with. And I happened to just speak to him the other day. He was up doing some maintenance work. And I told him what was going on, and he said, it's not a problem for us. And he gave me his phone number and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, he said, it's not a problem. He said, when I bought my property, that was the accepted property line. So I just don't know where I stand with all of this. I understand technically by the newest survey, it isn't my property, but by the old survey, it is my property.
The new survey is the December 12th, 2023.
Yes.
Okay. And that's the one that it kind of shows the white vinyl fence running down the middle of that right of way.
Correct.
Okay.
Also, the propane tank and the generator would be within that right of way.
And as far as that goes, you know, the addition to the house isn't gonna cross that line.
No, you didn't have the house.
So why don't we just consider a variance based on the new survey line as it is,
Yeah,
and then
your addition won't be affected by it at all.
Well, why?
You'll need to solve the issue
I
with
think
the
Chris's-
generator and the
I think-
propane
I
tank,
think
but
Chris's
that's not
issue
ours.
was that the fence and the generator
Right.
and the propane tank.
Right.
But that's it. Property's been that property for.
Which those are all things that are completely standalone from the variance you need to build your
Well, I
addition.
understand, but then Chris kind of indicated to me that the variance the variance I would have to apply for would be like 4.5 feet. Because if indeed my property line is 5 foot further, closer to the house, I only have 15 feet, and I want to put 10-foot wide addition on.
And I think the idea is that we give you the margin so that no matter where that line is.
Yeah.
Old or new, you still have
I'm
coverage.
all for what you're talking
Right.
about, I just want to make sure that we understand each other.
All right.
That's,
So they identified, and I thought on this, they made reference to iron pins, which is usually, is that what you have indicating where the
the
property
new
line?
survey has all brand new iron pins in.
Okay,
The old survey, iron pins are still there. And on one corner of the lot, on the western corner next to the lake, there are 3 pins there. The old pin, my new pin, and the pin from my next door neighbor when he had his survey before he built his house, and none of the pins agree. None.
I don't see how they, well, usually one pin is adequate for adjoining properties, but.
Well, I'm just saying, in that one particular corner, there are 3 pins, and none of them are close together. The closest together they are is 4 feet, 3 different pins. So how can, and talking to, let's see, not that it matters for here, but talking to Dave Faulkner at the county, he said that Mariahville Lake is Albany, if you pardon my language, Schenectady County's biggest pain in the ass for surveys. And that's what he told me personally, face to face, when I went down there to get the county survey done. 1922.
Yeah,
Well, it's done like this is 15 steps to the left of the nearest most waterway. Like it's literally my 15 steps, your 15 steps. It's great.
You know,
We love
but
it.
it was surveyed in 1922. So, but then my lot, or lots, because there's 2 of them that were combined in the early 1980s into one taxable property. My lots were surveyed in the early 80s to do that. And the pins, the old iron pins that are there now, I don't know, I'm assuming they're either from then or from when the house was rebuilt in 2002. I don't know when they're from. I don't have that history. And apparently the surveyor who did it is now deceased and nobody took over his business, so.
okay, so on the new survey, the footprint shown, is that going to be the finished product? You're basically adding an addition to the existing structure.
Addition to the existing structure, it would be, providing you give permission, 10 feet wide. It will be, original, I don't know what is on, originally, it was going to be 18 feet long, but then I think we changed it to be 26 feet long. It's only gonna be one 10 by 15 room, and the other part's just gonna be a storage area. We have no heated storage in our property. There's no place anywhere on my property for heated storage. So the other part's just gonna be like a 8 by 10 closet. But it'll be heated so I can keep paint and so on and so forth there when I'm not here in the winter time. Because right now, everything goes in my garage in the summer and back in my house in the winter while I'm away.
So it shows then that this footprint is like 12, say 12 to 13 feet from the new designated property line.
From the new designated property line?
Yeah, based on the one,
The existing edge of the current house would be approximately 14 to 15 feet from that new line.
It's
Well,
12,
I think that's what this.
May I approach?
yeah, sure.
Your drawings here?
Yeah, this is what I'm looking at here.
yeah, 12 and 3 inches and 12 and 9 inches.
Right,
Yeah.
this, this existing edge of the house
Okay,
from the fence is approximately 19.5 feet, probably give or take an inch or so.
But-
Well, according to this, all right, so he's got it even closer. Because if you take 5 feet off of 19 feet, that should be about 14 feet, not 12 feet.
But there's certain.
I'm not gonna disagree with what the surveyor put down.
Okay, but there's, the addition is all gonna be
The
contained
the
on
addition
that.
would, yes, would be all contained 10 feet here, it would be 10 foot over and
Well, is this gonna be the final edge of the addition?
That's
that's
the
the
current
existing
edge.
house.
It's going 10 feet closer
that's
to
the
the
edge of the
property.
existing house.
Okay, well, that's a concern because now, right, if we're talking, say, 12, 13 feet, and so you're talking about adding 10 feet, that leaves just like 3 feet.
2.5, 3 feet, according to that, yeah.
Yeah.
According to my measurements, it'd be 4.5 feet, but according to that, and I'm not gonna get in, yeah, that's the issue. And then the right of way is 10 foot before the next property over. But again, supposedly, the fence is down the middle of the right of way, not on my property line, even though the fence has been there for 20 some odd years.
Okay, but I mean, our concern is that this latest survey,
Right.
and you agree that this is accurate?
Well, I can't disagree. I'm not a surveyor. I paid people to survey it, and that's what they came up with.
Okay.
However, the old survey pin is down here at the end of the fence. Not over here where he put it.
So, but it's based on the more recently placed pins, correct?
If you base it on the more recently placed pins, then you have to use this dark line right here. If
Okay,
you base it on what was accepted when the house was rebuilt, and that survey, it's where the fence is down the middle of that survey line. That's the problem. When the house was rebuilt, somewhere around, the building permit was pulled in, I believe, 2001.
okay,
It wasn't completed until around 2003 or 4. I don't know why it took so long, but it wasn't completed for that. But at that time, and you should have that drawing also, because I submitted it. I have a copy here with me, but at that time, this fence was the accepted property line. That's just my sketch of what I wanted to do.
okay.
Yes, that is the one from when the building permit was issued back in 2001, I think it was, I'm not sure.
Which shows 19 feet between the edge of your fence and the property line.
And
which is
that's what I said, I came up with 19 foot 4, but if it says 19 feet, man, I'm not gonna swap it 4 inches, but yes, and that was the accepted property line then. And now all of a sudden, it's not the accepted property.
Okay. The concern is that if we're gonna accept this property line, then the variance request would be beyond what we would.
Well, that's
Yeah,
just,
what we would normally
Yeah,
do
right,
with
that would be narrower than you would normally accept,
Right.
except
Given the circumstances.
Given the circumstances, they.
In the kind of the greater context of things, it's an appropriate.
You know. That's why I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
so,
trying to do it the right way.
right, so then. Now, and you're saying that Chris made you aware that some of the items that you own are beyond this line.
Well, he suggested, yes, that the propane tank and the generator and the fence were on the right of way.
Okay,
And then he suggested I have it surveyed, and I did. And
okay,
this is what the new survey came up with, which does not agree with the prior survey.
That's what
Okay.
triggered the survey. Had you not, you would have been operating on the survey that said 19 feet from the property line,
Right.
which is your fence,
Right.
which is everything.
So the new survey doesn't agree with the old survey.
okay, so. Given, and you say that people are in,
The people who
Ownership. own the right of way?
well, they're deeded a right of way to the lake, the way I understand. They don't
Okay.
own the right of way.
Okay.
They're
They
deeded
can
a
use the right of way.
Right.
And I was told that the town owns the right of way, then I was told that that is incorrect. So I don't know. I don't know the law. I'm not an attorney. But the young lady who owns this house up here just bought it last fall. This is Carla Cote. She owns these 2 lots. These 2 lots are owned by Joe Galifano and his wife, all right? And they're the ones who have that right of way. There's other right of ways down here for other lots.
But you will not be on the right of way, no matter what you build.
The building will not be on the right of way. However, I will be squeezing the right of way.
You will still be within 2 feet of the right of way.
Two-
You will not be on the right of
I
way.
will not be on the right of way. No, it will not be on the right of way. And per their verbal word, their word of mouth, this is how they bought the property. They bought the property with the fence there, and that's what they believed from the fence over 10 feet was their right of way. They only use 2, 3 feet of it to walk down to the lake anyway.
Right.
Google Maps.
Yeah, Google Maps,
That's how he came up with the
Because
idea.
satellite-
That's overlay on the tax map.
That's right. No, but I'm saying, that's how he determined it, and then he suggested I have it surveyed.
And the survey showed exactly what he had said.
But the next map matches the survey.
Correct. That's,
Yeah, we think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
More.
given the circumstances. Does it seem appropriate that we look at the variance from the new property line, even though it would be that much closer,
Yeah, I
right?
think we have to, and then I think even though it would then be substantial. I can see extending what we would normally go with is substantial. Because of that,
And it'll be
well, it will be
prorated, but-
prorated
yeah.
either way, so let's figure out exactly what is the pro.
Again, I don't want to get into legalities, but if I have to do it. Again, I bought the house from an attorney. I bought the house from Bruce Martin Harding and Mazzati. He is now.
I'm not gonna be going on that.
Well, I'm just saying, he is now retired, but he's a retired attorney. He said, I can't give you legal advice. He said, but I can give you legal advice because, I know the law. And he's the one who said, the fence has been there for 20 some odd years. Adverse possession, no one can claim the land. I don't want to be claiming land that isn't
Yeah,
mine.
that's-
I just want
State
to put
prop- so-
limitation on my house.
That's the big sticky thing with property laws. Property lawyers do property law and only property law because it is it's a bear and state-owned land, like federally owned land, you can't do adverse possession claims on it. It's a whole different thing.
Right, I mean, if there was an issue with the line between an adjoining neighbor, then you could get a lot line adjustment. That you and your neighbor would agree on. It does make it more problematic, like you say, because it is,
Who owns the right of way?
If the
Well,
town or the state does.
the
then.
state, yeah.
It says public lands is what it says.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which
Again,
who knows?
I don't know. I'm just,
But you're still not on it, and that's kind of the important thing.
Right.
You're not
no,
building.
I'm not on it. I will be very close to it.
Yeah,
but
let's
not-
still your building is not on it.
Let's
And in
determine
fact,
how-
because it's a state-owned right away, it's vacant.
Correct,
And
exactly.
therefore, we're not infringing directly on a neighboring actual.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that anyway.
But there's no house to infringe on.
Well, either way, if it's public land, we would be remiss if we were, consider it in that regard. So what exactly would be, all right. So the lot width is supposed to be 175.
The lot length, the width is only like 93 or 4 feet.
Right, but the width is what we prorate the
Yeah.
side yard.
Yes, it is.
The width is 93 or
But
4
no,
feet.
no,
The
it's-
length is 170.
94.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I came up with, I
It's
used one of the
94.
other ones, looking at this is 12.
Well, it's 94 on the.
Okay.
Yeah, the width of the lot is 90, I think 93 feet or something, but,
What's, 94.
something like that from.
If we're gonna go with
Here to
that.
here, from here to here, but,
But again, it's kind of based on that width there.
right. Right, and that's true, but again, my fence runs here, and that width I've given to my neighbor. So this is the width of my yard, from this fence post to that fence post.
But you do own,
I do own a little bit up
This
here,
little
it's a long skinny pie shaped piece. And this is where I was saying there are 3 iron markers down here, and none of them are closer than 4 feet apart.
okay, so then what we're looking at, so if we were generous and say it's 13,
There's a, you'd be looking at the edge of the house being 3 feet away from the property line and 8 feet or 8 or 9 feet away from the fence. I have no intention of moving the fence or the propane tank or the generator
but that's,
unless my
that's
neighbors.
not
make
our,
it.
yeah,
that's not our
No,
concern.
no, I say unless my neighbors make.
So when you say 90 feet, the 93 less than 3 or 4,
well, this says 94,
okay.
right? Because according to the survey, you actually do own 94 feet of the
At
frontage.
the top, at the top end, at the
Right.
lower end, it's narrow. The lot isn't a perfect rectangle, at the lower end, it's narrower.
Well, that's roughly 53% if we use 94%.
Okay, so, and it should, so 53% of 40 feet is,
21 and a half.
okay.
So he needs an 18-foot variance.
So that right of way, is that clear? I mean, there's no vegetation on it?
I know there's vegetation, there's some trees and I don't know, various other plants growing on it, yeah.
Oh, and the fence is right in the
And a
middle.
fence and a generator, and a fence and a generator and a.
So it's not like it's a.
Okay, so when people use that right of way, they obviously walk, let me see.
They walk
To the lake, along the
They
north
walk
side of
along-
the fence.
They walk
walk
along the fence,
fence.
Lake Avenue down to the lake.
Do they walk
Okay.
your side of the fence or Russo's side of the fence?
They walk on the east side, the other side of.
The other side.
not
Right.
My side of.
They're not walking on your property.
Well, it's technically not my
Right,
property.
I know, but-
What you consider to be your property.
But
No, they're not walking on my.
Right.
Quite frankly, they're welcome to. I've already told them that. They're welcome to if they want.
Right.
No. They're not walking on my yard currently. They're walking on the other side of the fence.
Okay, so the distance between the edge of the new surveyed property and that fence is how much?
I don't know exactly, somewhere 4.5, 5 feet, something like that.
Okay.
They're saying the fence is roughly down the middle of the right of way. Right of way is 10 foot wide. So I'm saying 4.5, 5 feet. I didn't know exactly where the center of the right of way is.
So. um, So it would be, how far from the fence then? What did we just figure?
It'll be 2 feet from the fence.
Well,
Maybe I should just go to the
No.
state and buy the
Oh,
right.
no, 2,
no,
it'll be
no, no,
7 feet from the
it'll be
fence.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
7 or 8 from
2
the
feet
fence.
from the
Yeah.
property line,
Well,
property line.
I'm
7
calling
feet
it
from the
30, but okay, yeah. So 7 or 8 from the fence. But this is Phil, it'll be 7 or 8 feet from the fence.
It would be closer to 9 feet from the fence, but yes.
Okay,
Because as I've measured from the house to the fence, it's, I believe, 19 feet 4 inches right now. So it would be 9 feet plus or
which
minus
is what
from
we
the,
originally.
from the existing fence.
So, but what we're empowered to do then is just deal with this newer survey property lines and consider a variance based on
Done
that.
that.
Okay.
And when we're considering its substantialness, we can take into consideration.
Right, so,
What would otherwise be an adverse possession claim if it were not state land?
Or
well, or,
And it's a
Yeah.
10 foot wide.
just the totality of
10 foot wide
circumstance.
Right of way, which nothing can ever be built on anyway.
right, So again, you're allowed, 21 feet, but 18 of those feet are gonna be taken up by this.
That's what we're,
Yeah, okay.
of course, it's already taken up. 8 of those.
Yeah,
Technically already in
The
it.
house is already over the,
Because the survey that the house was built
Right.
against was the survey that showed,
right.
Yeah,
and the last, if we were to use what the board has already given, it was based on that original survey. So every action taken afterwards is technically building.
um, the notes, from December. Oh, here we are.
See all this in them.
Yeah, right, because in December you had mentioned that, the property had just gotten surveyed and you were waiting for the results.
Correct.
Okay. Now, the other thing is that you mentioned that you had already gotten DC approval for proximity to the lake.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
do you have some documentation regarding that?
I don't know if I have it with me, but I know they have it at the building department because when I was in Florida, I got a phone call from somebody at the building department saying, what's this about you putting an addition on your house? And we hadn't even approached that. And they said, well, we've got the permission from DEC here for you to put an addition on your house.
Okay,
So DEC, they already have it. I may have a copy of it here if you give me a moment to look it up.
if not, because ultimately what we're gonna end up doing is scheduling a public hearing for next month.
Mhm.
It's just that approval will wanna have that.
Well, I
as
know
part
I
of
do
this.
have it in the office. but
Okay.
I'm not sure if I have a copy of it with me, but I'll come check.
I mean, normally it's like 100 feet.
Something like that.
Okay.
With the house part.
But
It is,
when the house
it's
is-
100
yeah,
I'd say
it's
100
not
feet
any-
from the shoreline.
Right,
However, it's an existing structure.
Sure,
Yeah,
and
okay.
it's not going
Yeah,
any closer
And
to the
it's
lake.
not- I can't go, that's why I can't go
Right.
off the front of the house, because I can't
That's
go
why
any
it's
closer.
going where it is.
Right.
because you can't go- Like,
no, fair enough, but it's important for us to be aware of that.
No, I understand, and I do have the permission, I'm just not sure if I have the copy with me. But I know they have it at the time. At the office.
We also, addressed seeker in that meeting.
In
I
December.
believe we need to do that again because.
Right, it's the same.
Considerations.
Sort of action you were seeking to take in December.
Is this making sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. And okay, you both have this, I see what we're looking at.
All right, I do have that here. However, the one that I have is not the current one because the original one they issued for 6 months. And when this all snowballed into this bigger issue, they reissued one for 1 year. But I do have the copy so that you can see that they did approve it.
Okay,
This was 6 months. I don't have the other one with me, but this was the one that they approved for 6 months. But they did revise it to make it a year, which I'm going to have to do now, ask for an
Right.
extension. Uh,
so, yeah, we just want to.
But they
make sure that
have,
we've
they
got
do
the
have
update.
it, they do have it at the office.
All right.
Can't pull a permit without it, so.
Quickly,
And I tried to do this the easy way and go to DEC first, figuring if DEC wasn't gonna give you permission, no problem, no, why go to the building department? DVC gave me permission, then I ran into all these other problems.
Yes.
That's what they're looking for.
Anything else that,
Lake District is set.
so in a sense, because it's an existing 40 feet,
Undersized lot.
yeah, but that shouldn't, the front and rear setbacks aren't,
Oh, well,
Impacted by those.
Is that
so.
so?
Well,
I mean, he's not-
it doesn't matter because it's already,
And he's not increasing the front or back from what's already there. It's only the east side.
okay, so. Uh. Other than that, we need to set a public
So,
hearing.
so I will move that we set a public hearing for Joseph Tersini. 270 South Shore Road, SBL 75.10-2-1.1 for an 18-foot setback. For in addition to the 10 by 26 addition to the structure, a house, per zoning ordinance 7.1.6 to take place June 17th, 7 PM or as soon thereafter, as can be heard.
Thank you.
I think you're gonna have to call roll.
All right, Jonathan,
Aye.
Caitlin,
Aye.
Matt? Aye. Harold? Aye. Nelson? Aye. Okay, so what we've done, we've set a public hearing for next meeting. And then we'll take it from there. Excuse me?
You just said the 7th. I don't
Oh.
know.
Did I lose you on that? I knew you read the calendar.
No, it should be June 18th.
All right, so let's revise that to be June 18th, because I did say the same.
Okay.
June 18th, 7 PM here,
Here.
Yes.
unless otherwise noted.
Yeah, it probably won't be that quick. We'll be here for at least a good part of the summer, if not more.
Moving up from here.
Yes. All right. So you're all set. We'll see you next.
I want to ask another question about my property, but let these people have their time, and then if you don't mind, I'll just ask a question afterward.
Well, why don't you ask now?
Well, the surveyor brought this up to me, okay? The surveyor brought this up. My property is actually from 1922 survey, 2 lots. It is the lower lot where my house exists, which is approximately 93 or 4 feet wide by, I think, 170 feet long or something. And then it is another lot, which is 75 feet wide by 100 feet long
On the other
on
side
the top side of Lake Avenue. In the middle of my property is Lake Avenue Paper Road. Right? That paper road, from what I understand, the town or county took over a couple years ago because they're now plowing it and paving it, and they weren't doing it until then. So if the town or county, I don't know who, now has assumed responsibility for the paper road, the surveyor says to me, there is nothing in my paperwork that says that that piece of property that runs through the middle of my property is my property. It says, even though the fence blocks it off and there's no road there, or the next door neighbor who the road goes through his yard too. So, and also when South Shore Road was put in, I don't know how many years ago South Shore Road was put in, they took essentially a 30-foot swath of my upper 100-foot deep yard to put South Shore Road in. I want to know if I can get somebody from the town, the county, somewhere to say that that old paper road belongs to my property.
How are they shown on the tax map? Are they separate parcels?
They were united somewhere in the early 1980s as one taxable parcel.
Okay,
However, nowhere, according to the surveyor, does it say that the paper road is part of my property.
You're paying taxes for it, that would be where you'd probably want to start.
I don't know. I don't know where to begin. That's what I'm asking.
Start with Mike.
I'm trying to resolve all of these issues at once. I mean, I'm not planning on moving, but I don't want, I can't believe that when we did a property search and title search and everything before we bought the property, none of this came up. You know,
When did you buy it?
about 3 years ago. A little over 3 years. None of this came up. I've got the title search with me. None of it is mentioned in the title search.
yeah. But you actually, on this,
On that survey, the new survey, if you have it in your hand, it
Yeah.
shows I own 15 feet on the backside of South Shore Road. Here's South Shore Road coming here, and I own 15 feet of property over here that I didn't even know that belonged to my property because it was part of this 100-foot deep lot.
so, and you're right at the end here, there's no other,
This is mine, and
Right.
then my next door neighbor, this is where it terminated.
Right.
That's in his, he's got a garage built over the top of it. You
Yeah.
gave him permission years ago to build a garage over it. I
yeah,
don't know if he has any paperwork saying it belongs to him, but this portion right in here, from here to here, 20 feet or 22 feet, whatever it is wide, according to the surveyor, nothing says it belongs to me.
all right, when they plow, do they go any further?
No, the fence is here. They can't go
Okay,
any
right,
further.
so they
They
stop
come down,
here
they stop here,
and then turn around and,
turn around and go back.
okay.
And until, again, I don't know exact timeline, but about 2 years ago, the town wasn't even taking care of that. The locals were taking care of plowing that road. Now the town is paving and plowing it. So I'm assuming the town has taken over ownership of it. But if the town has taken over ownership of the paper road, then I have to get something from the town saying that,
That's,
you know, they're.
I talked to Mike in assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good place
If
to
you're paying
start, yeah.
taxes on things, that's
Yeah.
usually, if you're not paying taxes, it's a whole different conversation, but if it's one taxable parcel.
It is one taxable parcel.
That's,
Yeah, we're not taxed on two lots.
Start with Mike.
that's what
Okay.
Mike,
He's the town assessor.
Mike McGuire, or, well, he's who I've been dealing with about something else.
Well, while
You can ask
you're talking to him, this is a question for him.
Okay.
This is what he deals with, is who owns what piece, and does the town own a piece of it?
Okay.
And should we be paying tax on it?
He'll be thrilled to hear from me again.
But like
Well,
very
that's all right. You can
specifically,
tell him
do
I
I
said
pay,
it.
yeah, it's very specifically, have I been paying taxes on this parcel, like,
We'll just be true. Guys, we've been battling back and forth now, and again, not your problem, but I might as well get it off my chest. My little tiny 1,044 square foot house, all right, is assessed real property this year, because I have the letter with me, for $384,000. Guy 4 buildings down just built a brand new house, 2,500 square feet with outbuildings, 4 garages, full basement, twice as big a yard as mine, and his is assessed at 410. You tell me there's something fair about that. Well, I've been going back and forth with Mike for about 2 weeks on this now. So I'm trying to get all my problems resolved at one time.
Well, we can address it.
You saw.
This one, yeah.
This one, that other one is really.
We can
back to like
iterate,
wire.
but, yeah, the other,
And in fact, you're probably at grievance day next week, it might be another thing to mention at grievance, assuming you're there.
yeah, exactly, that would be, Eastern Avenue for that.
Well, I've got the forms all filled out
Right.
right here. I just
One
haven't
more
turned,
thing to add.
I haven't turned them in yet because they say they like to try to resolve these problems before the grievance.
Yeah.
So we've been on the phone back, as a matter of fact, I was on the phone with them an hour before this meeting. And we've been trying to resolve it, but our numbers are still quite a distance apart.
Maybe it's because you own the road.
Now I'm gonna have to plow it,
Oh.
maintain it, pay it back.
If you own it, you do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know. I never, no, that is not an official zoning board recommendation.
Didn't hear
Next month, next month, and then we can deal with,
that. We'll deal with this.
thank you. Okay. So good with that?
Yeah.
Claudia, you were here at one point, requesting a variance. Which was fairly substantial. We asked that, kind of modified what you were doing, and you apparently have done so.
Is it the same garage, just rotated?
Actually, what I've done is you want to rotate it. I found a way to get an extra 12, 14 feet, just cutting it in half and taking the other half and putting it right behind it.
Right, oh, okay.
And it gives us more distance to the edge of the property
Okay,
by an extra 10 or 12 feet, so it becomes a lot better.
okay.
And it makes more sense because the property drops away about, if we rotated the building, it drops about 4 feet in half the length of that building. This way here, I can just level the area and put that half kind
Okay.
of step,
To like 2 level
Yeah.
garages.
Okay,
and it works.
right, because you obviously wanted initially to have it proximate to the house, so you can go from the
Right.
house right into the garage.
Right,
Okay,
yeah, well, I wanted, but this way here, Claudia broke her neck and she doesn't get around very well, so as long as we can get that one part so she can get in and out of it, the other end is my truck and plow, so
okay.
works.
So where the other one, extended 39 feet,
Right,
and now it extends,
it'll extend roughly half of that. Exactly half of that, whatever that dimension is. Right, because there were 2 doors that faced north, faced Church's Road, and all I did is lop it in
So
half.
that's a 21-foot variance now, Carol? As opposed to the original, which would have been like a 37-foot variance.
yes,
Yeah.
Right,
yes.
big,
Phone.
big
It's just all the fun.
lots of them.
Can you start the Zoom?
I'll sit over here and play.
So. Yeah, I mean.
We actually had a public hearing and ruled against the original variance. So this is a new variance. This is a brand new variance application. Okay, so I don't think you need the minutes because I think it's brand new.
Yes, more or
Okay.
less.
Yeah, I gave everything to Chris and all the paperwork and stuff, and it's,
He would have addressed seeker as we had him.
No, because it's a brand new.
No, I
variance.
think we probably need to readdress seeker, even though we addressed it with the property. I think when we ruled against the
Okay,
original application, that probably went away.
okay, so. I guess the other concern, your neighbor. Hopefully there's no more concerns about the property line there, everything's,
we had it all surveyed. She didn't know who the guy was that's walking around putting the posts in the ground and stuff like that. We weren't anywhere near her stuff.
And she
Okay.
wanted just us to go and pass with them when they surveyed. We said no. We already had a survey, so we went and got another survey. So, and we got big stakes there, they're white, they're glazed. no,
Yeah, well, the
wow.
iron stakes are right inside the PVC
PVC,
pipe.
Okay, there you go.
It's 3-inch PVC pipe this high, so she can see it
So
from her
they can see.
kitchen window.
Yeah, no, that's a good way of doing it, so try to seek it out. Usually they're so low to the ground.
Right.
In the center of that pipe that's got a cap on it, there's an orange piece of tape on a metal stake. We got a licensed surveyor do it.
Objectively,
Okay.
It was all, it's all recorded.
now it's good, it's 19 feet from the line, that's the thing, right, that's our.
Right, so.
Yeah.
I used to mow their lawn and stuff, and there was a little rut in the yard, and I was there one morning, putting some sand down, sprinkling some grass seed on it. and she
I hope they
comes over.
came out and they yelled at you.
Yeah, they,
Adverse possession.
yeah, are you stealing my property?
That's it, that's adverse possession.
exactly what they're trying.
That's how you do it. It's open, notorious, you're maintaining the land. If she didn't say anything, adverse possession.
Oh, we don't, I
I don't care.
And she's the girl
I'm,
around.
I'm 81 years old, I've lived here all my life, so I've
I know.
just,
He owns the place. He says, I'm so sorry. Blah, blah, blah.
yeah, the boyfriend who owns the property apologized to us at the meeting.
So,
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
that's
it's
the
not
concern. Again, so we're looking at, it's 19 feet from the side of the new garage structure to the property line,
right.
Oh, it's a 21.
21-foot barrier. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Chris said he thought all that would work, but we drew all that up. In fact, we were supposed to be here for the last meeting, but I think I canceled or something.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I'd like to get this done though.
So I'm going to address seeker then. DBA hereby determines that this request for an individual setback and lot line variance is an exempt type 2 action pursuant to Title 6 NYCRR Section 671.5 C16, and no further action pursuant to seeker is required. Thank you.
Nelson?
Aye. Oh, I could, yes.
Aye.
Jonathan? Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Matt? Aye. Charles? Thank you. Okay.
Well, it's the new dimensions of the building, is anyone here somewhere?
Exactly that.
Oh, okay,
Half and
right.
half. I cut her right in half.
Yeah, it's 25 by 15.
It's dimensioned somewhere on that map I gave you.
Yeah.
Now it's 215 by 20. They don't, they're not connected, there's space between the two.
There's gonna be space.
Okay.
between the two of them, yeah, so I can,
15 feet.
Okay,
between
so
the
it's
two of
two-
them based on that.
Right.
Different buildings. They're
One
two
set,
different-
like 15 or 18 feet behind the other, so I can,
Okay.
And to accommodate for the drop, I would imagine.
yeah, oh, yeah, I'm gonna,
So we would need to find a variance for each structure.
I was just trying to say.
Yeah, but just so we got it covered.
yeah, and you line up north, south, right, one right behind the other, except for the distance.
So we just need to set another public hearing.
For us.
For you.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, I will move that we set a public hearing for Claudia. Pronounce your name for
Elaine.
Elanger. 4609 Glenford Churches Road. SBL 33.00-2-9 for two separate 21-foot west side yard variances under zoning ordinance section 8.6 sub 2 to be held June 18th, 7 p.m. or as soon thereafter, else can be heard.
June 18th.
June 18th.
Oh,
Aye.
Jonathan?
Aye.
Caitlin? Aye. Oh, aye. Nelson? Aye. Okay, so you're all set. We'll see you in June and then we,
Can we started or no? Oh, wait till after.
After the June meeting, and you
Ah,
get the building permit
Yeah.
from Chris.
yeah, and again, normally we would had to have gotten a building permit prior.
Right.
Well, I think I got a building permit for this just now. I paid another $100. I don't know what that. This is
This
is the-
application for the
this is
permit
the
that
second-
Chris presumably turned down, and that's how you got here. But that was an application.
Oh, okay.
And so until we grant the variance, the permit can't be granted. We
I
can't
don't
do
know.
that
I
till
didn't know.
next
I
month.
know I paid $100. What time?
The first one, we paid $100 and then we denied, so we had to reapply. Yeah, okay.
And it's a totally separate, there's
It's completely separate variance. Yeah, of course, well, anyway. All right,
I don't know what's going on.
You see where you're going with that.
All right.
I don't think it's
anyway,
the place we want to go.
we'll see you in June and we'll.
Okay, and then we'll probably be a go, I'm assuming.
It looks good, let's put it that way. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, this is.
I
more
mean,
of
I'm
a-
your part, and I know the neighbors.
Well, that's a whole different thing.
Neighbor.
From our perspective, this seems something like we could work with.
Yeah, okay, good enough.
And it's kind enough you to, at least, indulge our denying the first one. It was just more than what we would normally
Yes,
approve, because we have to be careful about setting a precedent. So we
Right.
try to keep it so that everybody gets the same treatment.
I can understand all of that stuff.
Okay,
You let me have 3 feet and the next guy wants to come along and you could turn him down for 5 feet. It doesn't fly, so we're good.
okay, great.
Thanks a lot, guys.
All right.
So then we'll
See ya.
In June.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Have a good one, folks.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, that's it.
Accessory buildings, yeah, I just wanted to. Again, we've been doing this a little bit all along. I think we determined from the previous discussion that, again, for accessory buildings, not requiring building permits, that in R2, we would make setback 10 feet.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I said 5 or 10, but yeah.
Well, it would, I think we felt 10 feet would be the better, maybe in some of the other zoning areas like the hamlets. Maybe the 5 feet might be more appropriate.
It's anywhere where they're
Well,
on top of each other.
Right. Also that we decided, at least initially, that we would limit the number of accessory buildings to 3.
because this is always,
Oh, yeah, we have, because that was to keep them from building a fence, one building at a time.
I mean, there is lot percentage
Right.
restrictions anyway, so it would really depend on the size.
But with an R2, you could place a lot of those, even a 10 by 14 building before you would even start approaching the lot coverage limit.
Like,
Well, that depends on if they have a house and a garage. I mean, it all depends on what's there, right? And there are undersized lots in R two.
Well, those are fewer and far between, but yes.
But like I could be at my house and I could stack a 10 by 14, many of them along the property line of my neighbors, and that's what we're trying to. No spike fence of houses.
Yes. Well, they're-
It's a really
exactly.
expensive, it's a really expensive spike.
It depends on how spiteful you are, Chris.
Yeah.
Well, you just solved my problem for me. I'm gonna put two 10 by 14 sheds touching each other alongside my house. Got my addition.
Don't go poking the bear.
No, I say, I'm here because I'm trying to do it the right way. That's why I'm here.
Now, we also touched on whether that we would consider prorating setbacks for pre-existing undersized lots for other than like the main dwelling.
Yeah, and I think we were general agreement that that's a good idea and willing to adopt it.
All right, and again, these are only recommendations, okay. The other thing that, and I did do a little bit research on this, it does look like our zoning ordinance does provide for enforcement procedures. Are you comfortable with everything that is there? Okay, because ultimately this is gonna fall on you. The concern also is that sometimes these can be, placed without your knowledge, given that there's no requirement for a building permit. So, right. But then, again, you would have to go back and possibly make people aware, well, it needs to be placed differently.
Right.
And hopefully it doesn't get to the point where,
Well, the good thing about those as opposed to garage, right? When people put garages in the wrong spot, is those sheds can be moved.
yes,
Somebody
absolutely.
pours a foundation, and puts a garage in the wrong spot, it's really hard to make them move it.
That's a very expensive mistake that they've made.
Well,
Yeah.
even that,
But that one is definitely going to court, you know what I mean, and getting tied up for a long time.
okay,
A shed, you can have a move a shed, just like what we did with Jackie,
right.
right?
Even though the requirements for these sheds is that they ask that you have a fairly, some kind of concrete, like a packed stone base.
Crushed stone or.
Crushed
concrete
stone,
pad,
right,
Or a concrete pad, yeah.
yeah.
Still cheaper than pouring a 4-foot frost wall for a garage.
Yes, well, that's above and beyond what
Right.
somebody should be doing for this small a shed. I mean,
That's thinking footers for your shed.
exactly, I mean, they're mostly,
Speak for yourself now.
they're on.
Well, then you deserve to make us move it.
They're have Chris knocking on your door.
Are there any other thoughts concerning these accessory buildings that maybe we have not addressed?
I'm assuming this is only for new buildings, we're not gonna
We're
permit
not
people move
Yeah,
structures that
no.
are already.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll be honest.
Well, that's gotta be-
Not doing that.
Yeah, no.
That's, it
Um,
I
might
think
need
the
to be
idea
in
of
there
this is like,
somewhere.
if there's a real necessary set of circumstances that requires an intervention. This is not like, oh, well, I drove by and I happened to see it. Like, this is when you
Well,
have people difficult.
Were you here
Yes,
for that? Okay.
yeah, that's why, that's when the necessity of it, I think, is slightly different. Yeah, I suggested the spite fence and houses.
Okay.
Well, in a sense, because like a 10 by 14 is at least 11 feet high, because I have one. And again, it's 140 square feet,
Mhm.
so it's easy enough, and there's outfits all the more now that you could get these, and they
Right.
have, interesting ways of moving them and setting them on your property. Most of the time, these aren't a concern, because most people have enough, property where they don't need to place it where it's gonna be so close to somebody else's.
Or potentially opening up your neighbor to liability if a tree of theirs falls.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the challenge.
You can undermine the tree with the runoff from your shed.
Correct. Another
Where have I heard that?
All right, so that being said, what I'm gonna do is I'll write these up as a draft, then next we'll make sure that everybody's comfortable with it, and we'll send it on. Um, Chris, I did have a question. I noticed that some of these applications had ag statements. Are they necessary for like a lake property?
If there's an ag, there's a farm close.
Yeah,
So if there's not, they just need to sign that part that there's nothing there. You know
okay,
what I mean?
all right. Okay, I don't have anything else. Oh, the meeting minutes from last time.
We didn't have an April. meeting. We skipped April.
No,
So this
but
meeting was not April 16th. I mean, that's just jumping out at. I don't know the date, but I don't
No.
think it was an April 16th meeting.
You're right, we didn't have an April meeting, but those were different.
Introduction, Chairman Gage, welcome to everyone to the April 16th, 2024 meeting.
But those were, somebody else put these together. Because Teresa asked me to put them together meeting minutes.
Oh, okay.
And I want to
So
find them.
you have completely different meetings?
Well, I just want to compare,
Okay.
yeah,
Sounds much more.
the other thing is that we didn't have an open forum. So I just put no comments.
Yeah.
No, because the only people that were there were the applicants.
Right, yeah, but I'm sure we opened it up, got nothing.
Well, no, actually, I just, for one, because that's optional. That's
Right.
not something we are
Yeah.
compelled to do.
No, but we always do it.
Well, the one time we did not do it is when I was hosting a meeting from home. This was during the pandemic thing,
Okay.
and we had quite the agenda, and I
Oh,
figured
yeah,
that it wasn't,
I do remember that meeting, because we
Yes.
had skipped like 6 meetings.
right,
And we had. like,
It wasn't- we had enough to address,
Yeah.
and I figured we should just move on and, well, I think this was even prior to that involvement, but anyway, again, it's not something we have to do, we do it as a, yes, and I don't mind doing it, but again, there was nobody because you can't provide, anything via, Zoom anymore. And again, at that particular meeting, was just the applicant. Yeah, here's my meeting. And again, it's kind of the same thing.
Here's actually much worse.
Well, I didn't go in, I think somebody else had done these. Having
Listen
not
to
been
the,
there.
listen to the tape.
Yes, And again, Russ asked, and I do it because I was there.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
So,
Jonathan, did you catch the spelling error on my name? Who caught the spelling error? Minutes. Spelling error on Massos should read Massos. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for looking out.
Someone's saying that.
Well, then I think we should just go with the other.
Yeah, no, I think yours are a better idea, but. But you were at the,
I was not.
you were not at the March meeting, okay,
I had the baby 11 seconds.
yeah, I thought everybody was there.
How long after the-
Born in April.
That meeting that you were with us the last time?
So what was it? The meeting before was February. Oh, I had her the following day.
Halloween day.
Yeah,
Wow.
I went into labor after our meeting. You're welcome, guys. I was that committed to the zoning board.
I'm glad it didn't occur during the meeting or.
Well, no, during the meeting, I was having contractions. I kept being like,
Very happy.
that was, I think it was Link who was sitting next to, whoever was sitting next to me, I kept being like, she's like, are you? I said, yes. And then that night,
I'm gonna move that we accept the draft minutes as Nelson has read.
Okay, thank you. All right. Hi. Okay.
Charles. Aye. Matt. Nelson.
Hi.
Well, you weren't there. Normally we just sort of abstain, but I suppose you can get a vote.
Sir, did you have anything
Well,
that you wanted to?
No, not related to the meeting.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay. All right. Somebody can make a motion that we can adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Second.
Charles?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Aye. Caitlin? Aye. Nelson? All right.
And around here along with.
We're gonna be-
Those are the